we do a little introduction. Oh, sorry.
A conversation with the legendary John Bennett right after this.
Hi, great.
Traditional light bulbs actually generate 9 times more heat than light. Switch to Energy Star light bulbs, and you'll realize just how much cash you are really burning through. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov.
Welcome to Community Watch. Greg,
Doug.
how you doing?
Oh, I won't complain. Not too much.
So we got John Bennett to talk to today, and I'm just pleased to have him in the studio.
Well, it's going to be an interesting conversation because Mr. Bennett's been with the city for a long time, so I'm quite sure he's seen a lot of growth. He's seen, he's seen a lot in all those years. So it'll be interesting to kind of pick his brain about some of those things.
Yeah. In fact, I want to kind of keep our little introduction segment short so we can give him more time. John Bennett will be our guest today. He will join us right after this break. Please stay with us.
Packers. Viking. Packers. Viking. Packers.
Viking. Red state. Blue state. Vegan.
Carnivore.
We come from different places.
Uptown.
Downtown.
Optimist.
We come to different conclusions.
Half empty.
Half full.
But when we live united, we create real, lasting change in the building blocks of life. The education, income, and health of our communities,
Live.
our families,
United.
even the person next to us.
Live united.
Real change won't happen without you. So give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Sign up at liveunited.org.
Welcome back to Community Watch, and we are thrilled to have with us the recently retired city manager, John Bennett. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here.
I just never thought that you would ever retire. It just never occurred to me.
Well, there's a time and place for everything. I think the Bible says that, and it's last fall I just had really never thought about it that much, but I turned 69 a week ago, and I thought that was a pretty good age to think about retiring. You can't work forever, and the things were going fairly good. We made a transition into have one new commissioner. There'll be another election 2 years down the road. I thought it would be fair for a new manager to have some time to work with the commission. It wouldn't be really fair to wait another year so that a new manager might have several new commissioners 2 years from now. So, and just the way things fallen in place, where my family is now, both of my children live out of town. I got grandchildren out of town. My sister's in North Carolina. So I felt like it was time while I was still healthy and feeling good to do a few things other than try to manage a city. But I loved what I did.
Well, isn't it unusual for a city manager to be in that same position this long? I mean,
yes, it is.
They move on or go to a larger city? Or
Well, that's exactly right, John. The two reasons most city managers are like baseball managers. They might start in the minors and they work their way up to the majors, or they move on to make more money, or there's some controversy surrounding what's going on in the city government, and for whatever reason they are not a good match for the mayor and the council. So that happens sometimes, and some managers have big egos and they just can't recognize who their real boss is. So, but Georgia's several cities in Georgia have had managers that stayed for a pretty long period of time, and Rome is pretty stable. Well, it's a stable city. We've had a lot of change, but our growth has been relatively slow compared to, say, some of the faster growing places, and that's where you really have problems. I noticed Canton in the morning paper this morning, Canton just hired a new manager on a 3-2 vote, and I gave Sammy Rich something from the City Managers, International City Managers Association I found when I was cleaning out my desk, and it was these pointers about when you knew you were in trouble. And the very first one was if your vote to be appointed was not unanimous. So I never had that problem. I never had to worry about that, and it made life a little easier for me to have the confidence of the commission and be able to operate without having to worry about whether I might not make the next meeting or not.
So how many years did you actually serve in that
I
capacity?
served as manager for just a little over 30 years. I was public works director for 3 years prior to that, and I worked under Al Crace. Actually hired me back to the city in 81, and he left in 84.
30 years.
And was that a goal of yours from the beginning? I mean,
You know, I made some closing remarks at the commission meeting the other night, and you know, it wasn't a job that I went to school for. It wasn't a job that I really trained for, but I really think it was a job I was suited for. And everything that my education gave me a good background. Some of my job experiences, even when I was in college and out of college, when I look back, all of them helped prepare me for what I had to do as city manager, because I think you guys know, y'all get around town, there's a lot of different things goes on in the city of Rome. It's a big operation, got a lot of varied things that we do, and a lot of personalities you have to try to balance.
but your education is engineering?
Yeah, I had an engineering background, yes. In grad school, I did take a couple of public management courses, but I didn't take it because I thought I'd be a city manager. I thought I might be, a traffic engineer on the engineering side, but it's getting to be less common for engineering people to move in that direction, but 50 to 30 years ago, it wasn't. Now there's more and more public management schools like UGA and Kennesaw State and Valdosta State all have programs. Auburn has a program in public management. So most of your assistant managers and managers are coming out of the public management schools.
So why do you think you were so suited for the position?
Well,
because 30 years is
having a back. I worked in construction for 7 years before I came back to work for the city. I worked for the city in the planning commission in the city in the early 70s, and then I went out in real estate and building business, and then I worked at and managed Mingy Construction Company, which was a ready-mix concrete plant and curb and gutter grading work and that sort of thing. So all of that gave me a pretty good background for a lot of things that we do on the public works side. And of course the water and sewer is a big part of our operation. So I had that education and background. So, other than police and fire, I had pretty much had some experience. In planning, I'd taken planning law. Actually, I went to NC State, but I went to UNC in Chapel Hill and took planning law when I was in grad school. So I'd had a little bit of a background in a lot of things that we touch.
But that still doesn't explain to me what has to be one of your primary gifts, and that is dealing with the human side.
Well, I'll have to admit, I had to work at that. I had to work at that. 'Cause when I first started to work, if you work in the private sector, you're fairly impatient. You expect, you go in the morning, you expect to make a decision and do whatever it is you're going to do and move on. And managing government's a process. It's a process, and patience. You just got to have some patience. And I think it's important to be able to work with a lot of different people and recognize that your idea might not always be the best idea, but neither is the other person's idea. I've said several times in the last few months is that, I think you get your best solutions when you weigh all the information you have and listen to a lot of different people and try to come to some consensus of what you want to do. And that's hard. Some people just can't do that. I had employees that couldn't do that. They feel like if they've got an idea that they've got to fight for that idea until they either win or they lose. And I always tried, I worked pretty hard to try to get, I think most commissioners that we had, I think all of them would say that I really always tried very hard to get consensus. And if I couldn't get consensus, at least to sway them to where they didn't feel like we were really screwing up with what we were doing. That didn't always happen, though. You have some people that have some strong ideas in politics.
A couple of years ago, I think just maybe 2 years ago, I know Rome was ranked the #1 small city in the Southeast or something. Yeah. When you look back over the 30 years, what are some of the things that really comes to mind, that strike you, that you're very proud of, that you was a part of in this process?
Well, I think you said a good word there, being a part of. I've been lucky to be part of a lot of change in Rome. And I don't know, I thought about that coming over here, wondering what you guys would ask me about. But I would think there's 2 or 3 things. One would be, I always mention bridges, because I came here as transportation planner. And oh boy, back in the late 60s and early 70s, we don't have a lot of bridges now, but we got more than we had then. So that has been, to start and see those planned and built would be a great thing. I think what we've been able to do downtown, when I first moved to Rome in '69, still had Belks and Miller's was downtown, and parking was a serious problem. Then they built the mall. There was nothing downtown, no cars. Parking was definitely not a problem. '86, my second year in being manager, we did streetscape, and it kind of changed the setting. And from that point on, we really worked on downtown, but then we worked on the rivers. And the first big thing was the library in '88, and that was a big controversial thing. It just, we got that by the skin of our teeth. Had a state grant to pay for half of it, and still couldn't get a bond issue passed. But we finally did, and that kind of started all the development down the river, the law enforcement building, the parking deck, the forum, and the trails that we've been able to do. Jim Dixon and I were, I think, a good team. Jim and I would sit around and look at maps, see which piece of property we might buy and try to get to where we could build some trails. So I think that that's a big accomplishment, what we've done downtown. And then I would say building, I feel like I had a very strong management team. I feel very fortunate, with a few exceptions over the years, that we really have had some good department directors, and the city has seen fit to let them run their departments and manage their affairs. And seeing them develop, a lot of them have gone to your college or to Berry or shorter. But I think the other thing I would say is partnerships. I think we've created some really good partnerships with the colleges, with the chamber, and with the county. I think we're really, even though it seems like we fuss all the time, it's usually about money and not about what to do, but the county's been a great partner in everything I just mentioned. Just about every one of those things, the county was a partner. And that didn't just happen. We had to work at it on a daily basis almost. But I've had great relationships with county managers, and that's been really, really useful.
Well, we're coming up on a break here in just a few seconds, and Mr. Bennett, now that he's retired, I think is going to, tell us what he really thinks about some of these people he's worked with. So we're going to hear some dirt when we come back from our break. So please stay with us.
Packers, Viking, Packers, Viking, Viking.
Red state, blue state, vegan.
Carnivore.
We come from different places.
Uptown.
Downtown.
Optimist.
We come to different conclusions.
Half empty.
Half full.
But when we live united, we create real, lasting change in the building blocks of life. The education, income, and health of our communities,
Live
our families,
united.
even the person next to us.
Live united.
Real change won't happen without you. So give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Sign up at liveunited.org.
Different.
Welcome back to Community Watch. We're having a conversation with the recently retired city manager, John Bennett. That the relationship between the city and the county, is that unusual? I mean, the fact that they're separate.
Well, it's the one good thing about Floyd County, it only has two cities, and that's Rome and Cave Springs. And not knocking Cave Springs, but they're kind of a renegade, and they're down there on the end of the county, and they do their own thing, and they don't cause any trouble for anybody. But you go to Cobb or Gwinnett, or even Bartow's got 5 or 6 counties. Cartersville's the biggest city, but it's not necessarily as dominant as, say, Rome is in Floyd County. The other thing is that Rome, the city, is right in the middle of the county. It's not off to one side. It's not like Adairsville is in Bartow County. It's stuck up on the northwest corner. So I think that, several things in our favor. One, and the other thing is the rivers come together right in the middle of downtown Rome. And until we built a few bridges, all the traffic, it didn't matter where you was going in Floyd County, you had to come through Rome. So all of those commonalities, I think, make Rome unique from a physical standpoint. But I think we've worked really hard at doing things together. I think about the joint facilities that we have. A landfill, as an example. We have a joint landfill. We own it. The city owns most of the property around it, but the part that we use as a landfill is jointly owned. We haven't put any tax money into the landfill for the last 15 years. It kind of sustains itself. Most counties are really struggling as to what they're going to do with their waste 5 or 10 years. We got 30 years of life at least left in our landfill. Just using as an example, the jail. We have one jail. City contracts with the county for jail service. I could go through. Y'all know what a lot of them are. So we do a lot of things. Floyd County is a big county. It's 514 square miles. As compared to, say, Athens and Clark County, that's 100 square miles. So where they've had consolidation, Augusta, small county. Macon just consolidated. It's a very small county. We have a large rural area in Floyd County, and I don't know that when you have a unified government like Athens Clark, you got one city. Everything's a city. And I don't know that Floyd County, I love it. I love Floyd County, but I don't know that Floyd County is ready to be a city. I'm talking about the entire 514 square miles. So that is an impediment. And the fact that we're one of 23 counties that still has independent school system. There's, I think, 22 or 23 left. So that's a challenge. I think we've done a lot together. Having a joint law enforcement building. I fight the two big services in this community, or at least that the police are in the same building and fire is combined. So those are two large services. The jails are, we have a huge jail. The city would be crazy to be get in the jail business. So I would say that's we've worked pretty hard at trying to do as many things as we can together. But there's a few other things that still gets a little discussion from time to time.
So I got my question, I guess, Mr. Bennett, for 30 years, what do you see are the things that lead to success? I mean, so you're now in this role where you're retired and you're looking at this city that you helped be a part of to grow. What are the things that you think have to happen for Rome to continue to be successful?
Well, I do think what we just finished talking about, I think it's important that this city and county continue to have a good relationship. You know, growth is a great thing. Rome has been very fortunate not to be fast growing like Cherokee County and Forsyth County, Gwinnett County. You know, in 1960, in the census of 1960, Floyd County was had more population than Gwinnett. I mean, think about that. Just think about that. Gwinnett was all farms, mainly dairy farms. And look at it today. I think Bartow County by 2020, certainly by 2030, will be twice, maybe 3 times the size of Floyd County from a population standpoint. It's going to be the next big growth county in the metro area, in my opinion. It's got a lot of things going for it. It's got water, it's got I-75, it's got good management, and so I think they can accommodate a lot of development. I think Rome, you ask what do we need? I know it's been talked about a lot, but I do think our connectivity to I-75 is important for industry. And industry brings new money to a community. It's money that's not just feeding off of each other. It brings new stuff and it produces products that can be sold and leave that money in town. So for us to be successful, you know, railroads are still important. Water is not important. Water transportation is not important anymore, but trucking is the name of the game when it comes to new industry. And if you look anywhere in the South, and you look all over the United States as far as that goes, we look at all over the South, the cities and communities that are along interstates are growing. I'd say at least 80 to 90% of them. Some of them in South Georgia might not be, but if you're not on the interstate, it's a bigger challenge. It's a bigger challenge. And but we have a lot going for us. We do have a good water supply, and we do have connectivity. Our location between Chattanooga, Atlanta, and Birmingham is a good component, a good way to promote ourselves. And our colleges are a great asset that most communities our size don't have. Having 2 good-sized private colleges, the school you guys work for, our technical college is good. So I would think for us to be successful, we need to continue what we're doing, look at our access to 75 and work with Bartow County and try to get that finalized. It appears that the access on 140 is going to come about. They're actually buying right away right now, and I think they're scheduled for construction in another couple of years maybe. So, and I would think that the stability that we've enjoyed over at least the time I've been in Rome doesn't come easy, but we need to work at it.
You have, I mean, just looking at the commissioners, you've worked with a lot of very strong personalities over the years. And yet, I rarely, and maybe it's just I'm not paying close enough attention, but I rarely see any extreme arguing, disagreeing, at least by the time things get to the commission meetings.
Well, I think I've worked for 31 different commissioners. Four mayor, I think 4 mayors and 3 chairmen. And with 9, that's not a lot of turnover. So Jamie Doss, who's chairman right now, has been on the commission for 22 years. So that's pretty stable. Buddy Mitchell was the chairman when I was hired, and he'd been on the commission for a while. I think by and large the people we've had haven't had single agendas. They were there for a purpose and not trying to necessarily beat a cause. And I think sometimes it takes a year or two to realize that the city really is a big operation, has a lot of different things that we do, and we touch a lot of people. We touch a lot of lives in what we do. And I think once they understand that a big part of what they do is to try to support these different functions that we have. But then there's the biggest role and the hardest one to deal with, quite frankly, as manager, is trying to facilitate change and community development. And y'all interview a lot of people in here that are involved with that, nonprofits and other neighborhood groups that are important to work with and be a part of. But that's the hardest challenge that the elected officials have. You get a good police chief, they can manage and run the police department. They don't need a whole lot of guidance from the city manager or the city commission. But to do redevelopment, to decide what projects are important to put on a SPLOST, which ones are going to have the biggest impact on the community, that's a lot to think about. And that part of being a city manager or a city commissioner is the hardest part. And I think the one focus that I've always said is to keep the commissioners focused on that bigger picture and on what's the goal of what we're trying to do here, because we got plenty of people on staff that can go out and figure out where to put a street light, or whose ditch needs cleaning out, or what street needs striping, or what traffic signal light bulbs need changing. We don't need commissioners for that. We can hire people to do that. But trying to keep a vision out there for what we can be. I know you mentioned you really like the trails, and that got started at a joint city-county meeting where we talked about hiring. And the reason it got done, we hired a river development person. Jan Hackett was our river development person, and that focus got us started. It made the rivers part of downtown. She later worked with the DDA, and that focus really changed. So, the city can't be everything to everybody, and we can't make everything happen, and we can't demand change. I think we have to try to facilitate and work with anybody. I think I made the comment in my closing statement that we ought to work with anybody that's willing to spend time or money in our community, that we ought to be situated in such a way that our staff and our commission would do all we could to work with them and try to help them do whatever it is they want to do. Now, whether that's a private development or the YMCA or the Boys and Girls Club or a church or whatever, our colleges.
Well, we're coming up on a break here. We will be back with more, so please stay with us.
If you're looking for a new pet that your family will cherish every day, consider adopting from a shelter. Shelters are the best places to find a new pet. That's where you'll discover healthy, loyal, and loving animals, eager to become a part of your family. A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet, so bring home your new buddy today. To find out more, visit theshelterpetproject.org.
Welcome back to Community Watch, and we've been having a conversation with John Bennett, who has just retired as city manager after, 50 years? No, not quite that long. But
30 years as manager.
Well, we thank you for being on the show, but we're counting on you to come back periodically to comment on how things should be going on with the city and how they're messing it all up. So,
well, I'm not going to come back and criticize. I didn't get that, so I'm not going to give that out.
No, but we would like to have you back.
I'll be glad to do that.
Thank you too for being with us this time on Community Watch, and we'll see you next time.